Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a stack of sources focused entirely on the skilled trades. Think roofers, electricians, HVAC businesses. Specifically, we're looking at local economies, places like Amarillo and Pampa in the Texas Panhandle, and mapping their challenges.
Yeah, it's quite a specific focus, but really relevant.
And what these sources show is, well, it's a bit of a paradox. These businesses booked solid, phones ringing constantly.
You'd think they'd be rolling in it.
Exactly. But instead, many are caught in this cycle of instability. So our mission today is to unpack how modern digital marketing strategy has become completely tied up with basic cash flow management. We're calling it the invisible drain.
It's a really crucial deep dive, I think, especially for anyone in these local service industries. You see these tradesmen, they're masters of their craft, right?
Absolutely.
And you just assume, okay, heavy workload equals solid financials. But what we found, digging through this, is that digital strategy has moved way past just getting leads. It now has to function as a financial stabilizing tool. We're really honing in on how marketing, especially in these high-growth, kind of fluctuating areas like Amarillo and Pampa, can directly fix those cash flow gaps, the gaps that ultimately just choke off any chance of real growth.
Okay, let's start right there then. This core conflict, cash flow management. Why call the drain invisible? That sounds like success is, I don't know, masking a serious flaw. What's the actual mechanism here? How does this happen?
Well, it's invisible because it hides in the timing, the payment timeline. So a tradesman, maybe your roofer, lands a fantastic job, right? A big one, say $15,000 commercial project.
Nice.
Or maybe it's a complex electrical panel upgrade for a home. The work gets done perfectly. Looks like success, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds great.
But then comes the standard invoicing cycle. And that often means they wait 30, 45. Sometimes, believe it or not, even 60 days for that payment to finally get processed, approved, and actually hit their bank account.
Ah, that delay. That's the killer. The cash just isn't liquid.
Exactly. But the costs, their operational costs, they're immediate. The crew that finished that roofing job, they expect their paycheck on Friday.
Of course.
And the supplier who dropped off all that copper wiring or the big HVAC unit, they need paying next week, maybe sooner. So this mismatch, you've got immediate, unavoidable expenses hitting up against these delayed, often really lengthy receivables. That's the invisible drain. It means their working capital is just constantly stretched thin. It's tied up in jobs they've already completed but haven't actually been paid for yet.
Okay, and what's the real consequence of that constant stress? I mean, beyond just the obvious financial headache.
Well, the big consequence is financial paralysis, essentially. The business owner, they can't hire that crucial third electrical crew they desperately need. Or they can't buy that new service truck that would let them take on more work. Or invest in better diagnostic tools. Why?
Because the money's tied up.
Because their capital. The money they technically earned on the last 5 jobs is still floating out there in accounts receivable land. It just flat out limits growth. So the strategic shift becomes really clear. We don't just need more calls. We need marketing that brings in predictable, high-value leads. And crucially, we need the digital infrastructure to actually accelerate payment. Get it down from 45 days to ideally maybe 48 hours.
Right, right. And that structural need, that's what leads to this marketing agency's core idea, what the sources call the YSI promise. What you see is what you get. It's apparently built on transparency in pricing and efficiency in execution. So for them, marketing isn't just about branding, it's a fundamental financial strategy.
It absolutely has to be. Look, transparency in pricing, that's designed to cut down on the back and forth with the client, speed up closing the deal,
Yeah.
and efficiency in execution, that's the part that speeds up the payment. If the marketing strategy doesn't actively shrink both the sales cycle and the payment cycle, then frankly, it's failed its main financial job. It's very pragmatic, bottom line focused.
Okay, that takes us right into strategy 1 then. Targeting those high-value, high-margin jobs, the ones that fix the cash flow issue up front. But let me just push back a little here. For a local tradesman, isn't volume still king? Don't you risk losing necessary income if you only focus your marketing money on landing these huge jobs?
That's a fair question, definitely. Because, traditionally, local businesses think more calls equals more money. Simple as that. But the sources are pretty clear here. The focus isn't really about ignoring the small jobs altogether. It's about making sure your marketing spend doesn't get wasted, chasing small, low-return leads. That chase for tiny repair jobs, that's often where this unqualified leads low ROI trap lies. Just think about the operational cost, the drag. A small, low-margin, it still needs a truck roll, right? A technician's time to assess it, maybe follow-up calls from the office.
All for maybe $150.
Exactly. All for a pretty small repair bill. That investment of time, fuel, admin, it actually pulls resources and momentum away from landing a $5,000 project.
Yeah.
So the goal isn't just lead volume. It's maximizing the cash injection per lead.
Okay, that makes sense. So the marketing strategy needs to be really laser focused on finding customers who are ready for those big ticket items. How do they actually do that? You mentioned this AI-powered hyperlocal thing using a local keyword strategy bank.
Yeah, basically they meticulously identify the keywords that signal not just like immediate need, but real commercial intent and high job value. It's about getting inside the searcher's head. Someone looking for a complex, maybe planned repair or installation, they're usually already prepared for a significant cost.
Can you give us some concrete examples, like the ones in the sources, showing that shift from low-value to high-value targets specifically for Amarillo and Pampa?
Sure, let's take plumbing. A typical low-margin, maybe even loss-leader query is something like running toilet repair Pampa. It's urgent, sure, but low ticket. Probably costs more in travel time than you make.
Right.
The high-value target they focus on instead, something like slab leak detection Amarillo. Now, that requires specialized skills, expensive equipment, significant labor, and it guarantees a high-value job that immediately pumps needed liquidity into the business.
Wow, yeah. The difference in immediate cash is huge.
Yeah.
What about for electricians? Is the shift similar?
Just as dramatic, if you're pouring your Google Ads budget into outlet replacement, you're basically optimizing for tiny service calls. The strategy says, no, focus your resources on terms like electrical panel upgrade Amarillo. A panel upgrade usually ties into bigger remodeling projects, maybe home insurance demands. It guarantees a substantial project value, often paid quickly. It shifts the game from basic fixes to major capital improvements.
And HVAC. Especially crucial with those wild Texas panhandle weather swings, right?
Absolutely. The low-value trap there is chasing AC filter change leads. Again, low-value, high operational cost to fulfill. The high-value target is all about installation. New heat pump installation Pampa. Targeting big-ticket installs like this directly attacks the cash flow problem by bringing in large chunks of capital fast. And the sources really emphasize using AI tools here, mentioning Gemini specifically, to draft really professional ad copy and targeted blog posts for these exact high-value keywords. This allows them to significantly improve that crucial metric, lowering the cost per qualified lead. CPL.
Okay, so strategy one nails down the quality of the lead, the potential profitability, but like we said, getting the lead is only half of it. We need to pivot to strategy two, the conversion machine, specifically designed for payment acceleration. We've got the profitable job lined up. How do we kill that 30 to 45-day wait?
Right, and this is where the main marketing asset, the website, stops being just a static online brochure. It has to become an operational tool, a financial tool, really. The source material is very clear. If your digital presence doesn't actively reduce friction in both the sales and the payment cycle, it's fundamentally failing the business.
They mention a specific package, the tradesman-led machine, priced at $7,950. Now, that sounds like a pretty hefty upfront investment for a small or medium trades business, especially one already feeling that cash flow pinch. How do the sources justify that cost? How do they argue it doesn't just make the invisible drain worse initially?
That's a really important challenge to raise. The justification hinges on viewing that cost not as a marketing expense, but as a necessary capital expenditure, one designed specifically to liquidate those outstanding accounts receivable much faster. It's framed as a self-liquidating investment aimed at stabilizing the business, not just advertising it. And they point to three specific features within that package that drive this financial return.
Okay, walk us through those features. What are they?
Okay, first, they build advanced lead generation forms. These aren't your basic name and email forms. They're multi-step, designed to act as a smart qualification filter. They ask up front about the type of service needed, the urgency level, the location, sometimes even a budget range. This automatically weeds out many of the low-value tire kickers, saving the tradesman literally hours of wasted staff time on the phone qualifying leads. And time saved is direct labor costs saved.
Clever. Qualification before a human even gets involved. Very efficient. What's the second feature?
Second is basic CRM invoicing integration. The website and those forms are built to plug directly into the business's existing systems for follow-up and accounting. This allows for instant, professional electronic invoicing, like immediately when the job is done or maybe even when the contract is signed. The principle is super simple. Every single day you can shave off the invoicing process is a day shaved off that payment delay.
Makes sense. And the third feature, you called it the non-negotiable step for stabilizing cash flow.
That's the payment gateway integration. This is absolutely fundamental, non-negotiable. It allows the customer to pay right then and there, credit card, ACH transfer, whatever, directly through a secure link on the invoice or website. This completely bypasses the need for mailing paper checks, waiting for them to clear, dealing with slow corporate payment cycles. It's designed to enable taking deposits easily when the contract is signed or getting full payment the moment the job is signed off, moving that payment delay from 45 days down to almost instant electronic processing. That is the key to escaping the invisible drain.
So that $7,950 package, the argument is it's an investment in operational velocity and immediate liquidity. It directly delivers on that efficiency and execution promise from the source.
Precisely. It essentially transforms the website from just an ad into a robust financial collection engine.
Okay. Now let's tackle strategy 3. This one addresses something pretty specific to the Texas Panhandle environment. Marketing against seasonal dips. We mentioned the climate-scorching summers needing AC, cold winters needing furnace repair. That creates these huge feast or famine cycles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Those seasonal swings just completely wreck any attempt at predictable cash flow planning. You might have, say, 6 absolutely frantic weeks in the summer where cash is pouring in, but then you hit the shoulder months early spring, late fall, and the call volume can just plummet. That kind of instability makes hiring staff, planning budgets, it makes it almost impossible.
So how can marketing possibly solve a weather problem?
It solves the revenue instability caused by the weather problem. The solution is the maintenance contract strategy. The focus shifts entirely to building stable, recurring revenue. The main goal becomes selling annual service agreements. These create a guaranteed, predictable baseline of revenue coming in even during the traditionally slowest months. And the marketing content, the messaging, it has to shift completely to support that objective.
How does that messaging shift look like in terms of practical keywords they target?
Well, you move away from the reactive, emergency-focused messaging, things like emergency AC repair Amarillo. Instead, you focus on proactive, preventative maintenance messaging. So the campaign keywords might pivot to things like HVAC tune-up specials Amarillo or heating system maintenance Pampa. You're specifically marketing the value of the annual contract, the peace of mind, not just the emergency fix.
Ah, I see. So that guaranteed baseline revenue helps smooth out those deep valleys in income. It makes the business feel a bit more like a subscription service, less like just an emergency responder.
Exactly. And that kind of stability is also really attractive to commercial clients. The sources make a point of highlighting the use of AI tools, again mentioning Gemini, to craft really compelling narratives for commercial case studies. These stories showcase how other businesses achieve year-round revenue stability by locking in these maintenance contracts. It becomes about selling that narrative of long-term reliability and predictable costs, which really resonates with business managers.
This has been, wow, a really comprehensive look at how marketing has to plug directly into the financial side of things for these trades. I do appreciate the commitment to financial clarity the source talked about, especially addressing that pricing anxiety by making sure the investment costs for these foundational strategies are flat rate and upfront.
Yeah, transparency is just critical, isn't it? Especially when you're dealing with businesses already feeling the squeeze from cash flow issues. Knowing that the foundational website build, the core content strategy, has a fixed upfront cost lets the tradesman budget accurately. They can measure the ROI directly against how much faster their cash flow stabilizes, without that nagging worry that some vague monthly retainer is just going to add to their financial stress.
Okay, and finally, let's quickly recap the essential metrics they track. They were very specific about ignoring vanity metrics. What are the 3 non-negotiables they report on? The ones focused purely on cash flow impact.
Yeah, they really boil it down to 3 things that truly matter for this strategy. First, just raw lead call volume, because look, the phones still have to ring, that's table stakes. Second, local map pack ranking visibility. This tells you if you're actually winning that crucial high-intent local traffic, the person searching Google Maps for electrician near me right now. And third, the absolute king metric, the one that really validates this whole integrated approach, is the cost per qualified lead, CPL. That metric tells you, point blank, did the money we spent actually generate a profitable job that was worth the investment?
Got it. So the overall vision is crystal clear then. It's about transitioning these skilled trades businesses from that really stressful, cyclical, feast or famine cash flow to becoming a predictable, profitable lead machine. And the way to do it is by embedding financial
It's really powerful proof that marketing today, especially for local service businesses, isn't just about brand awareness anymore. It's a direct capital investment in financial stability.
Well, this deep dive certainly showed us that successful marketing, at least in this context, is basically inseparable from operational efficiency and solid finance management. For a tradesman, that website, it's not a brochure. It absolutely has to be an operational and financial tool.
Spot on. And maybe this leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If the real goal of modern marketing for these businesses has shifted away from just generating clicks or website traffic, and moved towards actively stabilizing annual cash flow using super targeted keywords and built-in payment acceleration, then what expensive traditional marketing spend, think about those big highway billboards, maybe those old school radio spots, or paying for print directory ads, what does this modern integrated digital approach potentially make completely unnecessary in your budget now? Something to think about, right? How resource allocation really needs to follow the data and the true business objectives.